Welcome back to the show, Lemonade with the Seth brothers. This is your host Kunal. I'm here with Smita Singh and our guest Bindu Verghese. Smita, you want to introduce our guest over here?
Absolutely. I am absolutely grateful and really appreciate, Bindu, you coming over here. I'm introducing you to this incredible woman who believes in changing culture. And really, she is the first South Asian woman CEO of Encompass Hospitals. She was born in Kuwait.
That's right.
And she moved to the U.S. when she was 2 years old. And you would imagine when you move to the U.S. when you were 2 years old, you are American. But she had to go through racial profiling and some bullying, which we'll talk about, and really to overcome that. And she got inspired to get into the medical field when her grandmother had a stroke in Houston. And to see her mom go through that and go through, you know, the whole rigmarole of going through hospitals and stuff like that. And of course, as all Desi parents say, beta, become a doctor. So she got that too. So, but incredibly, she went into occupational therapy and she worked her way up the ranks to become the CEO. Absolutely phenomenal. Bindu, welcome to Lemonade with the Seth brothers.
Thank you. Hello, Kunal and Smita. Thank you so much for having me here. This is such an honor. And Jeff Ali, man, he's a great guy, man.
Oh, Jeff.
I know. Jeff, we've known Jeff for a very, very long time, and he is so awesome. So what a great candidate to have on the show. And his wife is a beautiful, beautiful person, Iman. So
yes.
Awesome to be here on the same day as him. So
Absolutely.
And before we get started, I have a little surprise for you guys. So
all right.
Let me tell you, I have had so many lemons thrown at me. And do you know what I do with lemons?
Make
Lemonade.
I take those lemons, I squeeze the crap out of those lemons, and I make freshly squeezed lemonade.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I made some for you guys.
Oh my God!
You did?
That is amazing!
I did, and I have cups and everything.
Sweet.
I have cups and
Let's put
everything.
it on.
Guys, we're
That's
gonna
what I'm
have to
talking
show
about.
this.
Guys, we got lemonade,
Oh, and you brought
actual
cups.
lemonade
Yes.
at the radio show.
Guys, if you're just listening to us on the radio and not watching us live, go on Facebook because then you can see this amazing. I mean, look at that lemonade, guys. It looks absolutely awesome, and I have
hope you like
cups.
it.
So we're totally gonna drink this while we
We
talk
totally
to you.
should.
I want it now. And what's funny is, yes, we're drinking some lemonade over here, got some lemons here, but your jacket is the color of the lemon. All with great planning, Bindu.
Yep, it was done on purpose for sure.
We love it. You're totally on brand.
Yes.
So, Bindu, your first moment of lemon was watching your grandmom going through all the medical treatment in Houston. And that's where spark flew in you. Saying, you know what? I got to be in the medical field. I don't want to be a doctor, but I want to be in the therapy business.
Sure.
Walk us through the mindset, coming to America at the age of 2, being a young adult, but going through the phase of your grandmom, your close grandmom, going through medical treatment.
Yeah, so coming here, of course, as you guys mentioned, you know, like most Indian parents, you know, Mole, we want you to be a doctor. And so coincidentally, my grandmother, who was visiting from India, came here and suffered a stroke. And during that time, I mean, she went through months of rehabilitation. And I watched the physical therapist and the occupational therapist work with her to the point where her entire left side, she couldn't move. And after therapy was done, she was able to stand, take some steps with the walker, and that just completely amazed me and inspired me. And so that's when I went into occupational therapy. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, tell me more, because I know we talked about this. When you were growing up, when you had come over here and at the age of 2, you're an American, right? Like you're going to school, you're doing this. Tell me, as a brown girl in school, at that time, not too many, right?
Yeah.
So tell me more. Talk us through what you went through in school and how mental toughness became a thing.
Right. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will share this story with me, but it wasn't easy, man. Like, you go into school, you think you're American, but you don't look American. And, you know, I'm going to tell you a funny story. You know, I used to get made fun of and you know, being called Gandhi, Red Dot Special, or whatever, all these different things, you know. And I was that quiet Indian girl in all honors classes, straight A's, didn't say anything. My parents told me, you know, don't make too much noise, you know, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Be that nice Indian girl. Well, and let me tell you a funny. I have to tell you this. I remember the school bus would drop me. I think my parents are listening. Please don't kill me, mommy, daddy. But I remember whenever the school bus would pull up in front of my house, my dad would be standing there with a lungi. And then the amount of ridicule I got on the bus from the people on the bus. So I'll tell you a story. People, used to call not only me, but, other Indians, Gandhi, this and that, and talk in the accent and stuff like that. Well, I remember vividly, I was in PE, and there was a girl who called me, certain names, and I had just taken it so much. You know what I mean? I think I was in high school then, and something just flipped. And I just looked at her and said, screw you.
Yeah.
But the next thing you know, she hit me really, really hard, and I went down really, really hard.
Oh, wow.
But that was a turning, pivotal point for me to where I was like, I need to have a voice. I need to speak up for myself. So that timid little Bindu transformed, I think, at that point, So anyway, I have many stories
I
like
love that.
that.
And now that you say it, I'll tell you one of my stories, and it's very interesting. When I went to college in Edinburgh, it's a small, college town. Somebody actually asked me the same thing. They said, well, do you in India sleep on the floor? I'm like, listen, where are you from? Like, no, please, like, stop. But I absolutely get it, because I think just the color of our skin,
Right.
and also being eventually, and we'll talk about it more, as a woman out there, in the world, and trying to make a name for herself and a voice for herself, like you've done. I'm sure there are several things that you come across. But tell me, as you went through college, and I know that you worked your way through college.
I did.
Tell me more.
I did. Things don't come easy being an immigrant. And, my parents literally came here with $10, and seeing them struggle and helping and still sending, money home to their family. My dad did the night shift, and my mom did the morning shift. So we were always at babysitters' houses and things like this, swapping my brother and I, between houses just so that we can manage. And so growing up, and to your question is...
So when you were growing up in college.
In college.
Yes.
So seeing how much they struggled, right? So going back to that, I didn't want to ask. My parents, of course, gave me what they could, right? But I put myself through my bachelor's and my master's.
Wow.
I took out school loans, and of course, my parents. Not that my parents didn't help me, okay, mommy, daddy, but they did the best that they could.
But you had the moral support. What you said
Absolutely.
was, I made it all the way here, thanks to them, bringing it to America.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to go to college for undergrad or master's degree,
Right.
I'm going to provide for myself.
That's
and
right.
that, being a self-dependent person,
Yeah.
allowed you to where you are today. And that is where you started your career as a technician
Right.
who was just at the bottom of the ladder.
Yep.
And he grew in a phase where some opportunity came up.
That's right.
Your director retired out of nowhere. You give it an opportunity to be an interim director at your clinic, at your hospital, and you took on that challenge. And within a few weeks, they said, you are the one.
Yeah.
And you were in that position for 8 years.
That's correct. Yeah.
Then your CEO stepped down, and while they were looking for other opportunities, other candidates, you stepped up.
Yeah.
You took on that role about 2.5 years back. So that moment of seeing your grandmom suffering, going through treatment, has actually made who you are today. Who knows? You may have been a physician today,
Sure.
but that treatment that your grandmom got,
That's right.
something triggered in your mind. You know what? That's what I want to do.
Right.
So, we are trained, groomed as Southeast Asians, be an engineer, be a doctor.
Right.
But being in corporate America, especially in the medical field, on the administrative side is not easy.
No.
Right? Because
No.
you see patients coming in, denied or approved for insurance.
That's exactly
But
right.
then in your position as a CEO, you see challenges all the time.
All the time.
You see from brown people, from white people, all kind of ethnic background coming in. So being in the position of a CEO
Yeah.
of a hospital now,
Right.
how have you pivoted and switched yourself from seeing from administrative man side than from being somebody who's a patient over there? How has that
Yeah.
shifted for you?
So, how it shifted from being on like a director
Yep.
to a CEO?
Yep.
Well, it's a lot more lonelier. Your circle gets smaller. You don't have that many friends. So, in a way, it shifted to where you have to think differently. The friends that you had. Although everybody in my hospital is wonderful, wonderful individuals, but that, commonality where you can joke around and say some funny things. I mean, you have to separate yourself from that, right? And take a step back, because you cannot be friends with everybody, in case of different types of scenarios, if that makes any sense.
But even in that position, you've been in a situation where sitting in a boardroom
Oh, yes.
full of male-dominated culture over there,
Yeah.
and you're the woman leader. So when we come back from the break,
Yeah.
walk us through the journey of really breaking the shadows of being the CEO,
Yeah.
but you have to reprove yourself to be
Absolutely.
successful.
Yeah.
So guys, you're listening into Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. We have Bindu Verghese over here. When we come back, we're going to hear about lemons thrown at her while we drink some lemonade at their show. Stay tuned with Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. Welcome back to the show, Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. We have Bindu Verghese over here, who brought us fresh, squeezed lemonade to their show. Oh my God,
And
it
it's
is so
absolutely
refreshing. Smita, this is my third serving and I'm not done. Bindu, great story, but the lemonade, I tell you, it's fantastic.
That's why we gave you the
Well,
whole
thank you.
jug. You can
I'm gonna
have
keep
it.
drinking
There
it.
you go. We'll keep it on your side.
That's
Kunal.
right.
So Bindu, you were talking about your journey from starting at the lowest level at the hospital,
right.
rising up the ranks from a lead technician to a director to a CEO, and you've been in the position for about 2.5 years. But you shared with us that even for the first 6 months to a year, even though you're the top dog in the hospital, you were not treated as one, because there was a lot of bias about somebody who's not of the color skin tone they're used to, being a woman leader, and you had to get past those hurdles, but you had to get them past for yourself first.
That's right.
It was a state of mind. You had to say, you know what, I'm the one running the show, I'm the one making the decision, so my voice has to be heard.
Sure.
I believe that was a moment when in high school the girl pushed you,
Yeah.
and he said, I'm done.
I'm done.
You snapped out.
That's right.
You snapped out
I
in the
did.
first 6 months, 12 months.
I did.
Share with us the snap moment.
Yeah.
Because had you not snapped out, guess what? You may not have had the position today.
That's exactly right.
Being in the business leadership position for 2.5, 3 years is phenomenal. But it had to have some kind of mindset shift that happened with you in the first 6 months, 12 to 12 months.
Correct.
Walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming into this role, I would have never imagined in my wildest dreams that I would be a CEO ever, growing up as a little girl. So when I came into this role, the first 6 months to a year, you're watching, understanding. So I would be in meetings, and there may be other vendors, males, and they wouldn't be making eye contact with me if we were, discussing something. And in the beginning, I was very shy. I did not speak up, and had I spoken up after that meeting, if something were to happen, and I didn't speak up, the desirable, outcome was not there, right? So then we had to go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, this didn't work, and I thought in my mind, I should have just spoken up. I'm the CEO here. I could have made this decision, right? But you're also worried and thinking, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be too, abrasive. To the point where I had to learn, it was like an epiphany, I really need to speak my mind. And if there are people, maybe males, that are not making eye contact with you and making eye contact with the other males at the table, you speak up. And you say your piece and you say what your opinion is. And, I want to say 10 out of 10 times, but I'm not that great. But 9 out of 10 times, you're probably right, So finding that voice, finding how to be comfortable in a room, full of men, if that's the case. At the end of the day, the CEOs are in my company are predominantly male. There are female CEOs, but you have to find your voice. And if you're at a table full of men, you just, push those elbows out a little further and you squeeze your way in and you
I do
speak.
it every day.
You do
right?
it with this guy?
Hey, listen, at work, one side is Sonnet, the other side is Kunal, and this was with the other day. Boom!
That's it. Yes. But I think it is true of every South Asian woman, or let's say brown girl, who's wanting to get out there and make a name for herself or get that voice out. It is predominantly a male society. You've got to get out and do it. And kudos to you for doing it. And I love the vulnerability moment where you said that, in the first few months, I was shy.
Sure.
I did feel a little like, wait, should I say this? Should I not say it? I mean, that's where you're daring greatly, right? That's where you're saying, you know what? Yes, let me kind of get this, but I know what I'm doing, and let me get out there.
I have to tell you, I say this thing, when you feel uncomfortable, you're about to level up. Anybody, any situation, whether it's your relationship, professionally, personally, I mean, anything that you're doing, you have a little bit of sense of uncomfortableness. If you push through that uncomfortableness,
Yes.
you are about to level up. I truly believe that. I mean, because you are a product of your experiences, and you need those uncomfortable experiences in order to take yourself higher, you know?
But also
So-
understand, Bindu, that you have a servant's mindset where being the leader that you are, you can wine and dine with the top doctors,
Yeah.
top leaders. But I understand that you have lunches with your doctors, but you also sit down with the staff.
Oh, yeah.
The janitors, the cleaning staff, spend time with them, hear their stories, get to know them. And that's what most leaders don't do. When they get to the top, they only stay connected with the top leadership team or management team, and they forget about all the people associated in the organization. So what drives you to take the time to spend time with the people who matter, but not necessarily matter in the org chart over here?
Sure. So for me, you know, because I worked, you know, initially as a rehab tech, then as a PRN OT, lead OT, then moved to the director position, I have different vantage points, you know. So for me, it's so important to connect to the line staff, and I enjoy it, you know. I don't want to be stuck in the ivory tower, you know. So one day I'll be having lunch with doctors or other CEOs, but you will see me around the hospital, you know, cutting it up with the nurses and having fun with them, the housekeepers, you know, whoever it is, you know, I know their names. You know, oftentimes I'll know their kids or whether their husband had a surgery, their, you know, their dog died or something like that. And I'll say, hey man, how's your dog? Or how's this? You know, you'll see me walking around the hospital every morning. I love to round in the hospital and talk to every single person, every single employee. And I think that's important, you know, that's building a culture. And you know what a leader is? You know, you're not a leader if you don't have followers. A true leader has followers. And when you are building a culture like that and you don't see yourself as somebody that sits in the ivory tower with a crystal pen and, you know, a champagne glass, you know, and you can sit there and get dirty and get your hands dirty, I mean, I think that speaks volumes. And I tell you what, like, you know, talk about lemons, man, in a hospital pandemic,
Yes.
ice storm, hurricanes, I mean, that's some big old lemons
That's
thrown
right.
at you, right? And I will come in my scrubs. And if I need to change a patient's diaper, if I need to transfer a patient, if I need to do anything, I know my team knows that I don't mind getting my hands dirty. And that's what it's about. So
I love it. I think, Kunal, you said it, you hit the nail on the head when you said servant leadership. That's true testament of what you're doing. That's quite amazing.
Thank you.
I absolutely loved what you said, and I think that should be the tagline where you said, you're that little Indian girl that dreamed big and went for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely love it. So tell me more. I mean, what is your vision? Talk to us a little bit on mentorship. That's what you like to do. Tell us.
You know, I don't have such a formal mentorship thing that I do, but, you know, knowing a lot of people do know my journey, whether it's in the community or at my work. So, you know, I was that little brown girl that did dream big and said, oh my God, I wonder if that would be me, you know, kind of thing. But, you know, I'll have people contact me, whether it's other people contacting for their children or for themselves. They'll say, you know, Bindu, can you tell us about your journey or tell us how you got here and what you did? And, you know, I'll usually go to lunch or I'll invite them to my office, whatever it is, my home, and tell them, hey, so this is what it takes, you know. For us, I don't know if it's ingrained in us as immigrants, but man, we work hard. Do you agree? Like, we got to work hard, and it's just
Absolutely.
in our blood, right?
Yeah.
And nothing's going to come easy.
Yep.
You know, I was listening to Jeff earlier, you know, how he had a silver spoon. Well, I had a wooden spoon, okay? I didn't have a silver spoon. Not
You
only
had a wooden spoon and a lungi.
and a lungi. And not only was I fed with the wooden spoon, I was beat by the wooden spoon as well. You know, so.
But I can imagine, Bindu, where you are a teenager or a young adult getting off the school bus, and a daddy being daddy, he doesn't care.
He doesn't
He wants
care.
some fresh air coming to lungi.
Yeah.
He's out there in his
Doing
lungi.
the lungi dance.
I mean, I would be blood red, flushing.
Man, I used to run out of that bus and just run straight inside the door. But, you know, knowing that now, I'm not ashamed,
Yeah.
you know, like I want my dad to wear lungis, you know, I love wearing my Indian outfits and letting everyone see me, you know, but at that moment in time, Kunal, yes, I was very embarrassed.
I still remember when I was a kid, probably 7, 8 years old, and I grew up in Libya. You grew up in Kuwait.
Yeah.
And we would go out to the park in the evening with all Indian families. And my dad being cool, he would always untuck his shirt and have his shirt tucked out. The other daddies, they would wear the shoes and pant and belt and all that. So I was like, why can't my dad just tuck his shirt in? Yeah. And I would what's crazy? I'm telling Mom, why can't he tuck in his shirt? So, well, that's how he likes it. Yeah. Looking back, that was freaking cool.
I know.
He didn't care.
Right.
Let that person wear a belt and shirt, all that. So he was being himself.
Right.
But when you're at that age, we take what's normal as an acceptable way of dressing up or behaving. But then our parents' generation, they have a mindset of their own. Yeah. They feel they want to be in their own skin the way they want to be, whether it's a lungi or shirt tucked out. Yeah. But then at that time, we don't understand, we don't respect that.
No.
But looking back at it, for your dad to show up at a public place in the outfit that he feels more comfortable, that's freaking confidence.
Yes, that is. They didn't care what people thought, And my dad didn't give a damn. He'd say, my bloody left foot, I don't care what they think, And so, I wish I had that when I was younger. But, right now, being authentic, I know my hospital, my staff, some of them are listening. They know that I love my culture. And I will speak about being Indian. I'm not trying to be too American or anything like that. And, and I think that's what also builds a great culture is being authentic, right? Yeah. And owning it, who you are and where you've come from. I didn't, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and just owning it. And I just feel like you get closer connections, right? That way. And you're more relatable.
Correct. I think the more we stay glued to our American or Indian culture or Desi culture is important. Yes, we are Americanized, born here, raised over here, or in the American system. But the values we learn from, whether you're from India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh, those cultural values, respect for elders. I mean, in our culture over here, your parents could be 60, 70, or 80, but they stay with you as long as they want to.
Absolutely.
You could be 20-year-old or 40-year-old. You could live with your parents as long as you want to.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying one is right or wrong. The American culture, you're 18-year-old and you are expected to move out.
Right.
Parents live in old age home. Well, not something about right or wrong, but that's our culture.
That's right.
Being belonging next. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the mentoring that you've done because you've had numerous kids prepare for interviews, get their mindset aligned with what they should be saying. Would you mind sharing that when you come back?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, guys, you're listening into Lemonade with the Seth brother. We have Bindu over here, CEO of a hospital system. When we come back, she's going to share with us what life she has impacted, influenced, being a mentor in the Houston market. That's Lemonade with the Seth brothers. Welcome back to the show, Lemonade with the Seth brothers. We are at the show studio over here with Bindu and my partner, Smita. We've been talking to Bindu, shared her story, born in Kuwait, moved to Houston when she was just 2 years old. Her journey has been incredible, where she was teased, called person with red dot on her forehead, called Gandhi, all those names, pushed around. But this woman has risen from nowhere to be a CEO of a leading hospital in the Houston market. Bindu, we are so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Kunal.
Now, during the break, I had a peak talk with your better half.
Oh, with Steven back there?
Yes.
Oh, what
and he
did
shared with
say?
us that you guys have 2 young kids, 7-year-old and 11-year-old. But you also have 2 dogs.
We do.
And he tells me you love those damn dogs more than Steve. Is that true, Bindu?
Well, I mean, they do listen to me better.
Hey, listen, my wife comes in all the time. We just listen from one side, exit
And
from the
out
other side.
right.
Smita, the same problem?
No.
Benny listens to you? Come on.
Benny does. No. Well, you know what? I make sure that all 3 of my boys listen to me. I have 3 boys at home.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
2 boys and Benny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put the danda out.
Yeah.
I do. I pull it out, and I'm like,
Good
that's
for
it.
you.
You got to listen to me. But Bindu, tell me more about your hospital. I know it's a little different from a regular hospital.
Sure.
Talk to us a little bit.
Yeah. So my hospital is called Encompass Health Rehabilitation Hospital of Sugarland. We're out in Sugarland, and we're an inpatient hospital that specializes in rehabilitation. So what that means, not like, drug rehab or anything like that. It's physical therapy and occupational therapy. So for instance, folks that come, with a stroke, can come to us and we help them get back to normal living, walking, getting in and out of their bed, just getting them independent so they can have the best quality of life, right? We specialize in strokes, hip fractures, amputee patients, and wound care. but we see plenty of other diagnoses like Parkinson's and things like that. So, that's kind of what we do, and it's a great team. I love my hospital and everybody there. They're just amazing. So,
How many locations do you guys have in Houston?
so in Houston we have about 8 locations, and I am in the Sugarland Hospital. So.
And is this Houston-based hospital system or?
No, nationwide.
Wow.
Nationwide. So we're the largest inpatient rehabilitation hospital in the nation. So we've got about 130 hospitals, including 2 hospitals in Puerto Rico. That's where I want to be stationed eventually.
Puerto Rico?
Yeah, Puerto Rico.
That's
In one of their
the location
hospitals.
too.
Retire in Puerto Rico.
That's right.
Right?
I'm
Wendy,
just kidding. I
you
love
said
Sugarland.
130 hospitals nationwide.
Right.
What's your vision as a CEO of the company in the next 5-10 years? What's your vision for the growth of the hospital system?
Right. For me, I'm always thinking of the next step, how we can better our hospital, what we can do. We already have a very well-run hospital, but, thinking about my goals and what I want to do for the company is what, I do think 3-4 years down the line, what can we do? And for me, professionally, it would be staying within the company, and there's, different types of avenues. You can be a vice president of a region or a president of a region, things like that. But at the moment, 2.5 years in, you have to know, and this is part of my growth too. You can't skip steps, right? You got to work through each step. You can't say, hey, I'm a tech, I want to be a CEO, or I'm an occupational therapist, I want a CEO. You got to move through those steps and understand your role fully to where maybe you can do it blindly, and then you think about the next step.
That's so right.
You know what I mean?
There's an approach of leapfrog approach
Right.
and caterpillar approach. The
Right.
caterpillar takes a step, pulls us up ahead, and then moves forward.
That's right.
Whereas a frog just jumps around.
Yeah.
And when you jump around, skip some steps, you have no knowledge, expertise of what you're going. And
I
that's
don't think
why
you're going to be successful if you do that.
when you started at the bottom of the same hospital system and went up the ranks, you knew exactly what it takes to be where you were at. So love that approach. So you're saying next 2-5 years, you have vision of growth, but it's all about patient care.
That's right.
Taking care of his staff, being real with them, spending time with them. I love that story.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit more. I know you're doing mentorship.
Yeah.
Tell me what are you seeing out there, and how are you able to help people?
I get contacted, especially, I did it. So it's impromptu, so I don't necessarily have like a hotline that people call for mentorship or anything like that, but it's kind of impromptu.
You are a role model.
Sure. Well, I hope so.
Yes,
absolutely. For instance, I did an interview today of a girl that was interviewing for a certain position, and she's like, wow, you've been there for 14 years. Well, were you a CEO this entire time? And I said, well, no, it's been, 2.5 years, and I haven't burned down the hospital, so that's a good thing, and so I told her, and she's like, that is so inspiring. So, and so then it opens up a dialogue, and this person I was interviewing today wanted to come in PRN, just like I started, right? So, and then there's other girls that may, they're in a position, they're seeking some sort of management, and they'll come to me or they'll call me and say, Bindu, look, I'm looking at this, but man, I don't know if I can. Do I need an MBA? Do I need this? And so talking them through that is something that I help, other gals do. Even interviewing, interviewing is I think there's an art to interview, to be honest. There's things that you don't want to say, and you don't want to indulge in, and you don't want to be too wordy and answer the question, right? So I've helped quite a bit of people, who are interviewing for leadership roles, and we do a role playing. We talk about, okay, what can you expect? What would they ask? What would I ask you? Kind of thing. So I look at resumes. I help resumes and things like that.
So when you have these people, what secret sauce? What do you tell them to say or ask, or how they conduct this on an interview? What do you want to share with us?
For me, I just feel like it's being authentic. If you don't know something in an interview, don't act like you know, because I will know that you don't know, okay? If I ask you in my interview, if I ask something, sometimes, they just want to know if you know. And you're like, yeah, sure, yeah, I've worked on that software before. And then if they go into detail and then you sound like a complete idiot,
right,
you've bombed it. Or you can kindly say, you know what, that's a great question, and I haven't had much experience in that, but oh man, that's something that I would love to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus lying.
So be authentic.
Yeah, be authentic.
Yes.
Be truthful.
Yes.
Be confident, so.
Absolutely love it. I know we're running out of time here, but Bindu, I want you to leave us with a piece of advice, a nugget, something that women out there can take back with them And when they wake up tomorrow, they're like, oh my gosh, Bindu said this and I'm going to totally do this.
Okay. All right. Well, I've used this a couple of times because it's happened to me plenty of times where the door is slammed in my face. But you know what? I don't care. I'm going to find a window that I'm going to climb into. And if the window is shut, I'm going to climb through that damn chimney. And if that chimney is shut, I'll dig a hole underneath and I'll somehow get in through that, into that venue or whatever it is. Don't take no for an answer, man. Just keep pushing. Don't get discouraged. You know, whether, you know, if that happens, yeah, it's disheartening. Take a step back. I like to pray. Or you just reevaluate, do some self-reflecting, and just push forward. Try again. So
being determined, having clarity of your goal,
That's right.
not giving up. You know, find a way. And if you believe in your own skill sets, what you want to do, find a way to getting there, and don't give up. Love that. Love that.
Yep.
So over the years, I'm sure you've had success, which we talked about today, but you've had failures as well.
Yeah.
Share with us one big failure or setback that you had. We talked about your racial profiling, but in your professional growth, some setback or some door slammed at you.
Sure,
How'd you
sure.
get over that?
So this wasn't the first CEO position that I applied for. I did apply for another CEO position, and I felt like I was pretty qualified, and I worked hard. I had been a director for a very, very long time, and they said no, you know. And that was like a gut check. I'm like, wow, am I really meant for this? You start doubting those questions. Am I really meant for this? Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I shouldn't, you know, this. You start getting all that. I feel like that's just negativity that comes from the universe or the devil, whatever you want to say in your brain. You have to push those thoughts out. And for a day or so, I was pissed. I was discouraged. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work 10 times as harder. Maybe there may be, you know, no offense, guys. Maybe the guys don't have to work harder. But you know what? If I have to work 100 times harder than a man, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, I didn't get it because I'm a brown girl.
Yeah.
I'm just going to push through. So, you know.
Wow. So those failures of not getting accepted as CEO, different hospital chain, you said, that's all right. I'm going to push harder
That's
at
right.
the next door and kick it down.
That's right. Kick
And that's
it down.
what you did 2.5 years back.
And if I can't kick it down, if it's too hard to kick it, I'll climb through the window.
On the window.
That's right.
If no window, chimney.
Chimney.
If no chimney, dig it hole.
Dig it in. Yep, that's right.
So we have a question that came in, and somebody is asking, what would little Bindu think of you today?
Wow, I think little Bindu would be in awe because that was a very insecure, quiet little girl. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that. I don't think I've had anybody ask me that question before, but I think she would be proud, and I think she would be in awe. So
We're all proud of you.
oh
Bindu.
gosh, thank you, Smita. Thank you so much.
How about your parents?
You know, they are my shining light, and I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry. You know, they went through a lot of adversity as well. You know, I'm going to be honest. Some of our own people are rude, okay, are not good people. My parents, I come from a mixed family. My dad Hindu, my mom Christian. And them marrying together and eloping, we, as a family coming to America, experienced so much adversity. The Christian people didn't like us. The Hindu people didn't like us. We didn't know where we belonged. And the things that my parents went through and to shelter my brother and I was just, it was hard to watch, to be honest. And to see what they did for us and how hard they worked for my brother and I mean, they are my saving grace. They're my angels. And I just love them so much because my brother and I wouldn't be here, and what we are doing now, it wouldn't be anything without them.
So if they were on the radio show today, they would share with us the adversities, the challenges they had.
Yeah.
But they stood fast. They didn't give up.
They did not.
They left Kuwait, came over here because of all the turmoil we had over there. But they said, let's make a better life, not for them, for their kids.
That's exactly right.
For you and your brother.
Right.
Stood by you every day. And this is where you're at today. And this is what I love about our culture.
Yeah.
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all these countries that we are brought up, respect for elders,
Right.
and listen to them, and their vision of protecting, shelling their family members, their kids, goes a long, long way.
It does.
Had they given up when they first came to America and said, you know what, enough is enough, let's, angle ourselves towards the Hindus or the Christians, well, then you would have seen that as well.
Sure.
But you saw your mom, saw your dad stand fast.
Yes.
And say, you know what, that's our belief system.
Yep.
We got married,
Right.
and we together,
Yeah.
we're going to make it happen. I mean,
Right.
that's the value, and this is incredible. what you shared with us, besides the lemonade, which was phenomenal.
Thank you.
But you opened your heart today.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are listeners out there on radio and on Facebook who are going to get inspired. Now, if anyone wants to reach out to you, sit down with you, share their heart, or get inspired by you, get mentored by you, are you open to mentoring more people? Bindu?
Sure, absolutely.
So how will they reach out to you?
Well, I don't think I'm going to give you guys my phone number, but let me give you my email. And that email is B as in boy, P as in Paul, V as in Victor, 77 at Yahoo.
At Yahoo, okay. Now, if you do want to call, you can call the radio show, or you can call me, or you can call Smita.
Yeah.
We can filter you guys out.
Absolutely, you can connect me, no
Yeah, and we
problem.
can connect you guys, so you can reach me at 832-543-3222. Smita, you want to share your number?
Sure, it's 832-656-2358. And Bindu will go ahead and tell your email again.
Yep, that email is B as in boy, P as in Paul, V as in Victor, 77 at yahoo.com.
And the show phone number is 1-888-749-1035. Guys, this was Bindu
So
on
that
the show
little,
today.
I know, that little Indian girl who dreamt big and made it happen. Bindu, amazing. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show. It was absolutely our pleasure.
Thank you. It was my pleasure as well. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. That was Bindu on the show. Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. We're going to take a break. When you come back, we'll wrap up the show today. But that was Bindu Verghese, CEO on Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. 6 days a week, 12-hour shift. Welcome back to the show, Lemonade with the Seth Brothers, where we make lemon out of lemonade. Actually, it's the other way. We make lemonade out of lemons. When life throws us lemons, what do? Make lemonade. And this evening, we had two incredible guests. We had Jeff Ali with Snap Lending, and we had Bindu over here. And they poured their hearts out. They talked about the successes. They talked about their failures. They talked about their lemons. And they shared with us what they've gone through coming to America, building their career, and being who they are today. Smita, what we thought so far? I mean, incredible guest today, right?
Oh my gosh, this was absolutely phenomenal. I think just they're coming on the show and, like you said, pouring their hearts out. This was what Bindu was talking about, authentic. This is as authentic as it gets, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just, raw and incredible. And I'll tell you, as I was talking to, when Bindu was talking, it reminded me of, and I've been through the same trials and tribulations as she has. And I remember when I was in oil and gas, and oil and gas is like the boy club, right? It's where all the guys are there and all the upper management is all guys. This was almost over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was sitting in a boardroom. I was actually the cost controller for about 20, 25, 30 projects. And I was sitting in a boardroom. And this is like the oak paneled boardroom with all the wood paneling on, the sides, everything. And everybody on the table is a CEO, VP, all guys. And to sit there and tell them, hey, you're spending too much money on your project. For me to do that, exactly the same thing. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, should I say it? You're spending too much money. And then eventually I was like, that's it. I'm going to let them go. I'm going to let these inhibitions go, find my voice, like Bindu said, and actually stood up there and said, okay, this is how you're going to do this. So really, I identified so much with what she had shared, because that's what a lot of us go through on a daily basis. Kunal, tell us about Jeff.
I mean, Jeff Ali, known as the Savoy Boy, has found his own voice. He said, you know what? I'm not going to be daddy's boy anymore. I'm going to make a name for myself. And this is where a few years back, about 4 years back, partnered with Nick Vellani and started his company, Snap Lending. But it's the stories, what he's gone through as a young adult, 18-year-old, worked in family business, then worked at a jewelry store, started his own IT company, took over a store of business which was doing about $6,000 of business a month to $60,000. But he was told, listen, boy, get off the business, go back to school, finish your classes. That got him the degree, the education. But the street hustler Jeff Ali is, over the years, he built an empire of successes around him. And what's really amazing is, in our industry of real estate, I'm a realtor, a lot of banking institutions evaluate your credit score, your papers and everything to evaluate whether you are qualified or not qualified. And so, a lot of time people have struggles, personal, medical, whatever those may be, while they have the ability of paying the loan, but they don't qualify. And that's where Jeff and his team comes in, and they hear the stories, really evaluate, can this person make the monthly payment? And if they can, let's lend them the money. And they've helped over 100 people in the Houston market. That was truly motivational, inspiring. While what we do is for financial success, but that's where the true stories are. And I also love the fact that his young daughter, she's 10 years old, and I've seen an action on social media and Facebook where he would be sitting around talking to his daughter, and she spits balls real estate transactions, real estate terminology, which is truly inspirational. So I was blessed to have Bindu and Jeff Ali today. They shared stories with us, poured their heart out, and they shared their lemons. And that's what this show is all about, guys. It's not about me. It's not about Smita. It's about you guys. So if you know of someone who has a great story, and if their lemon has some juice, share their name with us. Message over here on Facebook or call us and let us know. We would love to have you guys on the show. If you want to invite somebody, or if you want to be on the show, message us. You can call me directly on my cell phone. My number is 832-543-3222. Or you can reach me on Facebook and message us over there. We want to share the stories and lemons people have faced in their lives, personal, professional, that we do not have the same issues. Smita, you ready to wrap up this show this week?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually going home with lemonade and goosebumps today. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today live on radio as well as on Facebook. And do call us next time. Our number here is 1-888, and I should remember this. Well, you know what? Find us on Facebook
Just
Live.
call my cell phone. It's 832-543-3222. Guys, this was Lemonade with the Seth Brothers. Join us next week, same time, 7 p.m. Central Time on Radio FM 103.5. Lemonade with the Seth Brothers.